How's it going, guys? My name is Jimmy Champagne, and today we're talking about Hellraiser because it's finally getting the full-on theatrical remake that it's needed for years. But before we get into it, thanks so much for clicking on my video. Variety reported yesterday that Spyglass Media Group is the production company who got the rights to Hellraiser, and they're going to be the ones bringing us this remake. They've also signed on David S Goyer to write the script for the remake, which is pretty noteworthy considering he's the guy behind the Dark Knight trilogy, the Blade trilogy, and the upcoming Terminator Genesis. Yeah, he's got some pretty good stuff under his belt. He told Variety, "I've been a fan of Clive's work since the original Books of Blood paperbacks and the Hellbound Heart novella. Having the chance to reimagine Pinhead and the Cenobites for a new audience is a nightmare come true." If you've been around for a little bit, you definitely know I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of remakes and reboots, but I definitely think they can be done right if you get the right people on board, and they're off to a great start here. Hellraiser is one of the scariest horror movies to me of all time. It came out in 1987, but I saw it when I was a little kid on AMC's Fear Fest. That's how I discovered a lot of horror movies that I love to this day. That is the best program ever. I hope they never cancel it. If you haven't seen it before, the basic plot setup is that this guy named Frank solves a puzzle box called the Lament Configuration. It sends him straight to hell where he meets Pinhead and the other Cenobites. Pinhead is definitely the most recognizable, and they basically rip him apart with hooks, and it's one of those images that stuck with me pretty much my entire life. If I'm remembering this right, Frank stays in hell for a little while, basically taking on the form of a pile of goo until his brother, his niece, and his brother's new wife move into his house. His brother cuts his hand on a nail, and then the blood drips into the floorboards and hits Frank's bones, and he's kind of regenerated as this muscular zombie. It really gets cool from there, so I'm not going to spoil any more of it. You really need to check it out if you haven't. Clive Barker stuck around to executive produce and write the story for Hellraiser 2, but after that, the series really started to fall apart. Hellraiser 3 and 4 were released in theaters, but they didn't do very well, and neither of them are great movies by any means. But after that, they all became direct-to-DVD movies so the Weinsteins could keep the rights to Hellraiser, and pretty much all of those movies are terrible. Like, they're kind of a fun watch. I actually reviewed Hellraiser Judgment last year, and I thought that was okay, but this series genuinely needs a full-on theatrical reboot. It's just too good to be a direct-to-DVD franchise. And obviously what I would really like here is if they picked up after the second movie and ignored everything that came after it, but I kind of get why they would want to start fresh with this franchise. Pinhead's name has kind of been ruined, and just starting over gives them a nice slate to build off of that kind of just cuts off all of the bad baggage this series is carrying with it from the past few decades. I gotta be honest though, there is one big thing worrying me about this remake, and that's that it's very similar to the Child's Play remake. Spyglass is a production company that was shut down and was revived. They just got the rights to Hellraiser, and they're fast tracking it to get it out as soon as possible so they can capitalize on horror while it's hot. That sounds almost exactly like Child's Play, which is getting bit in the butt right now from the fact that everything is coming together for that movie, from the cast to the director to the script, except the main aspect of it, the doll. The doll looks terrible in that movie, so I'm hoping with Hellraiser they can figure it out and get it done right. Having David S Goyer attached is obviously a great start because he's a prolific writer, but on top of that, it's just cool to see Hellraiser dug up from the Weinstein's grave that they left it in. This is a franchise that deserves to go on, and I really hope that instead of just focusing on Pinhead like the last 7 movies did, they reinvigorate all of the Cenobites and turn them into this sadomasochistic, terrifying group of killers, because that's what they really are. What they really have here is the opportunity to make an extremely dark, gory, and terrifying movie that's gonna scare people for years to come. That's what the original Hellraiser did to me when I saw it, and I just love the idea of a new generation having one of these movies to do that to them. My big hopes for this remake are that they don't just remake the original movie and tell the exact same story. There's a lot of cool ways in which they can modernize the Hellraiser story, and on top of that, I hope they go with all practical effects, except for maybe hell. I'm fine if they take us to hell and then touch that up a little bit to make it look like Doom 2016, but other than that, everything should be practical. Frank's body, when he gets the muscles back on him after the blood drips on him, that was all practical, and it looked real, and it still looks real to this day. A lot of 80s horror movies, when you watch them in HD, you can kind of see the cracks showing on a lot of the practical effects, but that is one I will take to my grave as standing up to the test of time. But that's all I have for you guys on the Hellraiser remake. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and real quick, I wanted to ask you guys, whether you're a new subscriber or one who's returning, make sure you have that bell next to the subscribe button clicked, and if you start getting emails when I upload videos, it would be awesome if you could click those and watch the video right away. That's how the YouTube algorithm picks up videos to feed to more people, and that would just really help me out. So anyways guys, my name is Jimmy Champagne, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.